Hi everyone, it's Nicole and welcome back to my channel and another card making video tutorial. Today we are going to be focusing on some Halloween Betterpress cards, but even more than that, we're going to just be showcasing all kinds of amazing new products from Spellbinders in their August 2023 release. The base of each background and some sentiments is going to feature the Betterpress system, and then I'm going to also be featuring some awesome new die collections and stamps. So we are going to start by creating some Betterpress backgrounds. You're going to want to tape the specialty cardstock for the letterpress, or in this it's called Betterpress at Spellbinders, to your cover here that goes on the platform. And there's grid marks that helps you set it up perfectly on the cover for A2 or A7 cards. And then there is also the grid on the platform itself where you place your plate that lets you know and shows you right where you are going to be creating your Betterpress. I am going to ink up then the background. And of course, if you've been here for a while, I love spiderweb backgrounds for Halloween cards. I think they're one of the most useful and fun ways to give that spooky feeling. This is probably one of my favorite products from the release. After you've inked it up, I am then going to place the cover over the top. Let me grab my die cutting machine. I am not going to move it over here for every time I run it through the Betterpress, but I will this first time, mostly because my smaller size machine broke. I broke it. And I have the big machine and it's just super heavy to get into the camera view every time. So you run it through, that's it. When you pull it off, oh my gosh, look at the results. Now I did have to tape this down. My suggestion for this, because that does mean it's not going to, give you that letterpress look along those very edges. I taped the minimal amount of cardstock that I could, but you could also use the A7 panels or use a much bigger panel. There is some 8.5 by 11 cardstock, and then trim it down later if you need your panel to be completely 8.5 by 11. I did use an 8.5, or not 8.5 by 11. I used one of these backgrounds as my card front, and you may have noticed I barely placed that tape. Now, while I had the spider web in there, I did go ahead and create two backgrounds. See how it's just barely touching the paper? I think it's not going to be very noticeable. So this gives you the letterpress look, which is amazing. I cleaned my plate off camera, my press plate. The recommended cleaner for these is the Ranger Archival Ink Cleaner, and it does work like a dream. So I recommend this as well. Next up, we have the Pumpkins and Ghosts background. Now, if you want to create just a super simple design, you could ink blend and then Betterpress this, or you could Betterpress then ink blend over the top and call it good. Maybe add some splatter, add some small embellishments. I'm going to use it more as a decorative background rather than a greeting. I also think this would be super cute framed up. It's just really cute. I love the font and all the little icons. Or even just like this. I love it. What a fun background. So this is the Pumpkins and Ghosts background. And finally, we're going to do a couple of more, but this is all from one set. This is the Halloween Icons press plates. Now, what I love is this obviously comes with loads of Halloween icons, but it also comes with Betterpress greetings and a die to die cut them into spooky strips. The ends of the strips kind of look like they're weathered and torn. They're so awesome. So I am going to go ahead and we are going to press this. And I think my favorite thing about the Betterpress system is how easy it is to get beautiful letterpress results with so minimal effort. I absolutely love it. You get that awesome, elegant kind of look with the press. in real life, you can totally see that. It's just awesome. Okay, I'm going to just set that to the side and I'll run it through here in a minute. Here is that archival ink cleaner, and I'm just wiping my die clean. Also cleaning my platform, any ink that, and even the cover if I get anything on that. Now we're going to do a couple more things with this Halloween Icons set. It comes with lots of individual Betterpress plates. So let's go ahead and tape down our other background, and we're going to take our bats. And I am figuring out, where do I want these bats to go? This is going to be the only Betterpress on this particular card. So I'm figuring out my placement. And when I'm happy with where that is, and I can't stress enough how much I love the grids, because it really gives you a fantastic idea where things are going to end up on your finished card. I'm going to run that through. This is going to be a really fun background to create here in a little bit. Look how fun those are. So you could basically create any kind of background scene card with some of these individual images. The last thing I am going to do, the last background I am going to create, is some individual images. Now there is a new notched rectangle, or notched corner frame, I think is what it's called, set from Spellbinders, and I'm going to take one of those dies and we're going to die cut individual images. I do go ahead and do my Betterpress for 4, but I did only end up using 3. That was a game time decision when I got to finishing up that particular card. And you could pick any of these images that you want to. So I played around with these a lot. There is not dies for these. Now, if there were, I think I would have put the witch hat on the pumpkin, but it's just not going to work out. I thought I could also put the bats with the skeleton and have them hang off the edge. I did try it. I didn't like it. And the skeleton head is the only one that I ended up not using for my card. So we are going to, I actually put these in for the 4 quadrants because the notched frame die I'm going to use should be able to die cut all 4 of these, maximizing the use or maximizing the room that I have on each A2 panel, especially because the Betterpress system does take a certain kind of cardstock in order to work correctly. So I definitely want to utilize every little part and piece here. And just want to make sure that I have these covered well. The magnetic platform holds them really well, but I want to make sure that I'm not pressing too hard or anything to that effect. So we are going to run these through, and like I said, I'm not going to leave in the mistake where I Betterpressed the bats with the skull because I didn't like it. So now I have run my Betterpress images through the die cutting machine, starting with the Halloween Icons sentiments. And then I also have my notched frames, and you can see how awesome each of these images looks die cut using a little frame like this. And I think it's going to be really fun to use multiples on my card. And I'm going to go ahead and die cut the rest of these off camera. Let's talk coloring in your Betterpress images. The recommended coloring is going to be water-based markers or pens or pencils or colored pencils, and not your alcohol ink markers. Due to the ink that we're using for the Betterpress, if you use an alcohol ink marker, whether it's Copic or Olo or Spectrum Noir, whatever it is, alcohol ink markers are going to possibly smear that ink line. They just don't work with this ink. And another thing, they're probably not going to work with this cardstock. I've not tried them, so I can't say that 100%, but you aren't going to want to use your alcohol ink markers. So you're going to want to find other ways to color in. You could even watercolor with distress inks for a super simple look. I'm using the distress pencils here. This is my personal favorite way to add color because I really love the distress pencils. I'm using a water brush pen to help me add that color to this. And I'm simply going to show you my coloring process. I did speed it up a little bit to save time since this is such a long video today, but I have 4 very distinct different cards and a lot of different product from the August 2023 release in this video. So anytime I could save a little time, I am. This is the only coloring I am doing today is for these first images from the Spellbinders Halloween icons. And I love these. Now they're cute. I think they're going to be really awesome, but I did ultimately decide to add some color around the edges of my images with a prize ribbon pencil and water. And I think that makes the images pop more, in my opinion. It really depends on the look that you're going for. These are all going to be placed over a spiderweb background, and the background is going to be distress inked. And I think this would just be an awful lot of white if I didn't add that little bit of color. I think it makes the images pop more to have a little something around them as well. Went with purples and oranges for the witch hat. So fun. So here's that blue. And I started just down near the base, which I love. I think the blue makes the orange pop. And we're going to do this one. You can see just scribbling on the ink, blending out. I was like, oh, that looks cute. And that looks cute. You could just do down below. But then I was like on the tombstone, well, let's go ahead and go all in. So I am going to show you this. Again, I opted not to use the skull, so I am going to just cut that out of the video since ultimately I didn't use him for my cards, my finished card designs. And I want to save as much time as possible for this long video. We're going to go around. Here I'm just laying down a little bit of color. What I love is you can be kind of messy with it and then you just blend it out and it looks amazing. Oh, love this. So much fun. And you can really see how it makes those images completely pop. Okay, next we're going to create some really fun distress oxide inked blended backgrounds. For my spiderweb backgrounds, I have Shaded Lilac, Blueprint Sketch, and Black Soot. Anytime I am creating a nighttime scene, or really, I use it all the time. When I just want to deepen and darken and create more of a moody feeling, that's what I use. A couple of notes. You could distress oxide or distress ink blend your background and then Betterpress it. I've done it both ways. Or you can do the Betterpress and then apply, excuse me, the ink over it like I'm doing here. I think either one works beautifully. You can see the finished photos at the beginning and the end of this video to see, you know, kind of what you think, but I love it. I love the all over spiderweb background, and I think applying the ink really just adds to the whole overall feel. Now, I went with this purple blue color combination today for the majority of my cards. One of them is going to have a different color combination. These are my current 2 favorite color combinations for Halloween. Kind of the moody night sky that has the lavenders and blues, like these, or the limey greens, which you'll see here in a minute. And I am going to do the same thing for both of these backgrounds, and I'm going to just keep blending until I get the effect I want. And again, we're only going to ink blend one of these completely on camera to save a little bit of time. Both are exactly the same. I did do a quick wipe with a dry cloth to remove any excess ink, but I don't really think there was any. Then I have a splatter box here, and we're going to take some Stardust, Pixie Dust, whatever you want to call it, splatter. This has shimmer and shine to it. And I want to create kind of this shimmery, shiny background, almost like dewdrops on a spider web background. And I've got a small paintbrush, and I'm going to create splatter all over this background just to add to the spooky feel of this card. This is going to dry completely, it'll dry shimmery, but kind of iridescent shimmery. It's so pretty. It does take a little bit to dry, I will mention that, and you are going to want to make sure it's completely dry before you die cut. So if you want to die cut the background, I did die cut one of these. I highly, highly recommend doing it before you add your splatter. And we're just going to do both of these and set these aside to completely dry while I work on some other things. I was having trouble getting this moving. And I added a lot to both of these backgrounds. Let's just get more. I love my plastic box because I can just, again, wash it clean when I'm all finished. That is going to look so good. Okay, so next up, we are going to work on our next background, which again is the Spellbinders Pumpkins and Ghosts. And this is going to be Twisted Citron, Lucky Clover, and Black Soot. This is the different color combination. I will go back to the first color combination for the last card, but it's going to have a different effect as well. And it is the only one that doesn't have the all over background with the Betterpress. So I started with Twisted Citron in the center, Lucky Clover all the way around. And then Black Soot's going to be pulled in around the edges. This is a fun option if you don't want to do like the blues and purples of Halloween. I love this color combination. It's one of my favorites. This is what the Gnome card is actually going to go on. It's the Gnome Drive Holiday, and we're going to do the Gnome Drive Halloween on here. I will have cards with all of the Gnome Drive as well as the envelope of wonder dies that comes for all the seasons. So stay tuned for those coming a little bit later this month. But I decided to incorporate both of those collections into the cards today, as well as the Dancin Halloween. And again, we're gonna go over this background. I have some of the pixie dust left, and we're gonna splatter this background. I really liked it, and I think it adds just a fun, spooky, shimmery touch. For our fourth background, I am going with my Tim Holtz Moon Mask stencils. I love these stencils. I cannot get enough of them. We are right back to our shaded lilac and blueprint sketch color combo. We're using the medium size moon masks here. I've used the moon to mask off the area around the bats. I am going to add just a little bit of the shaded lilac so that it looks like the moon is glowing. I always like to take my lightest color to do that. And then the moon itself, I used whatever ink was left on the shaded lilac, from the shaded lilac, I guess I should say, to add some color right over that. Then the sky is blueprint sketch, and we're going to make it super moody with Black Soot. The layering for the mask itself will be blueprint sketch, and I'll go over that pretty good with shaded lilac. So this gives it that moon feel so quickly and easily. One of my favorite things. This moon mask set, you guys are going to want to pick it up for your Halloween and winter cards. I can't speak highly enough about this set. It's one of my favorite things. And now to really make this sky come to life, we have our black soot. And I love the peaks of color through this and just the moody feeling the black soot gives everything. Even when over the moon, just a tad. I love how it looks. Almost kind of like that cloudy effect, I guess I want to say. I'm going to color in my bats really quickly with the Distress pencils. I just did a little black soot and Villainous Potion. And then I'll blend out with my water brush. And I did this, you know, right over the Distress Oxide ink. It will be absolutely fine. I just wanted my bats to have a little more definition to them. And this is how I achieved that. Then I'm going to replace the solid Moon Mask stencil over the top and splatter this background with the pixie dust as well. And that just protects the moon. I didn't want a lot of the shimmer over that section. My preference is generally when I have a moon to not splatter over it. Sometimes I forget, but I like this. And then we're going to set all these aside to dry while we work on die cutting all of the elements we're going to be using for our cards. The rest of it is super die cut heavy. So one of the cards, really all the elements for it are already created. So this is my first card. And this one, of course, features our awesome Dancin Grimm is what he's called. And the Dancin refers to the fact that the characters swing. Now, I do think I probably assembled him off camera. I think my camera shut off for him. The second one I'm going to do today, the Dancin Day of the Dead, I will do here in just a second and you'll see that. And it's very similar. I am incorporating some of the Envelope of Wonder Halloween images. That's the tombstone and the ghost. The ghost is die cut from vellum. I love the layering pieces for this. Oh no, he isn't attached. Oh, I just attached, you know, I guess I did build his body and I added some ink blending and I glued his face together. So see that hole there? I did double up this one with foam squares. That is the attachment. And then his head's going to go over that to secure it. But that is going to make the body, it should make the body be able to move back and forth. I think I should have added powder around it, but it's okay. It's a pretty subtle interactive element. And I just want to note, if you don't want to make him interactive, you can just glue him directly. Any of the Dancin images, you can glue them directly to your card. The bats are also from the Envelope of Wonder Halloween set, and these make an appearance on at least a couple of my cards. They're one of my favorites. I love mixing and matching, and I want to encourage you when you're creating, even if it's not all Spellbinders, obviously, which I'm featuring today, but whatever dies or stamps and dies that you have, consider mixing and matching. Go to your Halloween sections, see what you have. Maybe you have some cute critters that you could take and build into scenes or combine with new products that you've picked up to really tell the story. As cute as this Dancin Grimm is, I loved adding additional elements to this. This is a background as well that was die cut with one of those notched frame dies. I love these notched frames. And then I did stamp and emboss a sentiment from the stamp set that coordinates with the Halloween. This is the Dancin Halloween stamp set, and it has lots of fun greetings that work with this really well. I'm going to mount this on a piece of gray cardstock. I thought I'd put it right on the white. In fact, I started and I immediately pulled it up because I just think the white doesn't showcase it. I mean, it would be fine, but I think it's going to look better on gray. So I did just grab a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch piece of gray cardstock to place right on my card base. And then we'll replace with our scene on top. I'm going to use some dimensional dots to finish off my card. I added some white highlights with a white pen to the eyes and some highlights here and there. So let's do the Dancin' Day of the Dead. I went very bright and colorful for this. And this is going to go on the background with the moon and the bats that we created earlier. And this time I'm moving him down a little bit. The greeting is going to go up next to the bats up in the sky. And we are going to incorporate the tombstone and the ghost. The die for the ghost die cuts 2 ghosts at once, so I had 2 vellum ghosts already, so I just die cut another tombstone. I thought that turned out really cute on the Grimm card, so I'm going to go ahead and do that again for this card. And we'll also be incorporating the cat from the Gnome Drive Halloween set on the other side. I thought that looked really fun with this. So again, just mixing and matching from all different collections. I'm going to speed up the assembly, but I did leave it in to show you guys how easy he is to assemble. So detailed. There is a girl Day of the Dead too. I did not get her, but I think it would be cute to even put them together on a card. Oh my gosh, that would be super fun. I love his little guitar. And there's some really fun sentiments in that Halloween Dancin' Halloween stamp set. So after he is assembled, foam creatively on back of him, foam there where his legs are going to dance. And we're going to pop him in place right there on that background. Oh my gosh, how fun is that? And again, if you don't want to make his legs interactive or any of the different Dancin' Spellbinder sets interactive, you totally can just glue them or adhere them directly to your card. So Party Like There's No Manana, I thought that was fun. And we're just going to, like I said, incorporate some of those extra details. And I saw I needed to add these little pieces there. So again, tombstone, ghost, kitty, all of these are going to round out the design. To me, one of my favorite parts is kind of the finishing details when I'm working on a scene card. And mostly all of these, I guess, except for the last one, which is 3 mini scenes. But with scene cards, to me, it's always what can you add to it to help tell the story. And in this case, I felt like all of these extra little elements, the bats and the moon, the tombstone and the ghost and the cat, all were extra elements to round out the scene. For the cat, I did die cut the cat twice, once from black cardstock and once from yellow. And then I put foam back behind the eyes. The yellow pieces for the eyes are going to be super teeny tiny, but we're going to inlay them. And because we have foam back behind the eyes, it's going to be really easy to just adhere that right to the eye area without having to add a bunch of extra glue. And it kind of makes the cat's eyes glow a little bit. I highly, highly recommend an embellishment wand when you're dealing with all of these little parts and pieces. They're super fussy, but again, I do think worth it. You guys know my love of die cutting. And this card will also feature some little white highlights. I will stamp and emboss my greeting. We're going to have some dimensional dots to round it all out. Now, I did let my background dry overnight. I would also recommend, maybe before splattering this background, stamping and embossing your greeting prior to the splatter. If you're going to do that, or stamp and emboss on a separate piece of cardstock and adhere it like I did for the first card. Obviously, I didn't, and it worked out okay, but if you are limited on time, I would suggest stamping and embossing first and then adding your splatter. Oh my gosh, he's so cute. I really, really love how this turned out. Fantastic Halloween scene card. Let's move on to our Gnome Drive card for Halloween. This is that text background. I've got all of my pieces here. We're going to add some color to the beard and the nose for the gnome. If you've seen me create any gnome cards in the past, you know that I like to color in the nose with alcohol ink markers, and I also like to color in the beard with alcohol ink markers to give it much more texture. So I'm going to do that first. This card is going to feature the Betterpress sentiment, one of those sentiment strips that we created early on in the video. This is Sending Spooky Hugs is the one I picked. Look at how awesome the ends of these are. So two of my cards, the Dancin Halloween cards, because there's a stamp set that coordinates with that collection, and truth be told, there is a stamp set that coordinates with the gnomes. That will be featured in the other video I have coming soon, not in this one. I decided to just go ahead and use some of these greetings I already had. And there's lots of options. You can totally do whatever you want. I want to make that clear that you can mix and match. I'm a huge fan of mix and match, but I wanted to let you guys know that there's so many good collections from Spellbinders this month. I'm absolutely loving it. So this is my brighter green background. I totally went a little bit more, you know, greens and purples and all of that good stuff here. I die cut everything, like the car and the gnome come from the Gnome Drive holiday set. That's where you get the car base. Then there are all of the, I call them add-ons, that you can, all the holiday add-ons, and there are quite a few of them. And I have the Halloween one, and with the Halloween set, we're getting the witch hat. So there's the traditional gnome hat in the Gnome Drive holiday. In the Halloween set, we get the witch hats, and it is 2. We get the jack-o'-lantern pumpkin, the cat, and I think that's it. And I did die cut all of those elements to use. I love that you can create the witch hat on the gnome rather than the traditional hat. The smaller witch hat fits on the ghost. And you probably have noticed this already, but on all of my cards today that feature ghosts, I did die cut the ghosts from vellum. If at all possible, I love doing my ghosts from vellum. I think it turns out really, really fun. I like that you can see through it to the background, but it still gives you that fun effect. Oh my gosh, look at this little Gnomey. How cute is he? This car is so much fun to build. So if you have built any of the previous sets from Spellbinders, you know, the Truckin' Along or any of those, or the Sunday Drive, you know these are so cute and fun. Spellbinders does an absolutely incredible job of all of the little parts and pieces that go together perfectly, and that they mix and match. You could do this in any color. I kept my car pretty neutral, lots of grays, and I did this on purpose because the color is all in the background and then the gnome and the accessories here. And I want the car to, yes, be a focal point because the gnome's in it, but I want it to more be focused on everything else. gives your eye a little spot to rest, I guess, if you will. So I'm going to speed up the rest of the assembly here, and then we're going to put it all on our card. I did leave the assembly in the video, though. Hopefully it helps you when you go to assemble your dies with how it all goes together. It's so cute. Oh my goodness, you guys. I just think it's the cutest. I absolutely love it. There's even a little steering wheel. I'm going to tuck my gnome in the car, and real quick, like, I'm going to just tuck the steering wheel in there. Now, sitting in the car with my gnome will be the cat. Let's go ahead and just put our sentiment strip down along the bottom. I have foam back behind there. And then I am going to put foam on the back of my image. So you'll notice I assembled everything, and then I'm going to place the foam on the back. I'm even going to do my balloon string here where I want it to go. And then we're going to assemble everything. No foam on the back of that balloon string. It is so teeny tiny. But the jack-o'-lantern face balloon, and obviously all my little scene is popped up. I think it helps it stand out from the background of the card. Plus, placing the foam back behind the cat's eyes, we can inlay that yellow like we did on the previous card with the Dancin' Day of the Dead Boy very easily. So we're just going to line up our car right above our sentiment. Then we're going to put foam back behind our balloon. I did add lots of shading to this card. Lots of black soot. I think that's the only color I used for anything, is I added black soot. And I like the height that the jack-o'-lantern balloon adds. So fun. Some little highlights. We got our little ghosty. I love the little witch hat for the ghost. And he's going to be kind of coming up from the car, adhered directly to the background. Now I placed the witch hat on him first so that I could hide the adhesive back behind that. And I will use some of the dimensional dots for the eyes on my ghost so that they stand out a little bit. So these are just some black, and I think that just makes the face super, super cute. And we'll inlay those kitty cat eyes just like we did on the previous card. I will add a scattering of dimensional dots to finish this off, but how cute and fun is this? Really, really loved creating this one. Cannot wait to show you the other seasons. Okay, so now that we have these 3 cards, the last card is going to be my non-scene card. We're going to take our last spiderweb background, and I'm going to put foam adhesive on the back of each of these notched frames. So this is what I was talking about earlier, where I wanted to utilize these in a way, and I do like them like this, but as I got to adhering, and the skull was my least favorite, probably because it has the least amount of color on it, I noticed that I had adhered the other 3, and I really liked how it looked with a little bit more of that spiderweb background showing. So I even got as far as putting the foam on the back of the skull before deciding that I wasn't going to use him. So I will just pop him on like a sheet, one of the backing sheets for the foam, and I can save him for another card. And I instead took the Halloween Envelope of Wonder dies and die cut my bats again, and I've adhered a couple of them here, but I'm going to use multiple sentiment strips in that last quadrant. And to me, this makes the card so much more interesting and fun. I'm going to offset these. I've got foam underneath. They slightly overlap a little bit that notched frame over on the right. but I'm loving this. To me, this is just so much more interesting. You're still getting that fourth quadrant, but the fourth quadrant has sentiments and bats instead, and you can see a little bit of that, more of that spooky spiderweb background. Another idea would be without the spiderweb background per se, but you could die cut a bunch of these little icons and line them up on a slimline or a mini slimline card. I think that would be fun too. The addition of some die cut images with the flat Betterpress and colored images adds dimension and interest to this card. We're going to finish with a scattering of dimensional dots, just like we have done for the rest of the cards. I will use a white pen to add some detail to the eyes on my bats. I love using multiple sentiment strips on a card design. We're going to glue this to a top fold card base just like we did before. Let's grab our... These clear dimensional dots are my favorite. Really subtle, but very fun. So we got a few here. Let's add just a couple more. Kind of at a diagonal. And that is it for my 4 cards. So here is a look at all 4 finished card designs using the Spellbinders Halloween Betterpress press plates, as well as new die collections for August 2023. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for these 4 Halloween cards featuring Spellbinders products. The supplies I use to create my cards are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining me today for another paper crafting tutorial. I love being able to share with this incredible community of crafters. I want to give a huge shout out and special thank you to my amazing Patreon members. If you're interested in joining Patreon, please click the link in the description underneath the video here on YouTube. Patreon is a private community where you can support more of what I do. There's exclusive content. You'll receive a handmade birthday card from me during your birthday month, monthly lives for my top tier patrons, and more. We would love to have you join our growing community. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel, click the like button, and don't forget to click the notification bell so you're always notified when I have a video or go live. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you again next time.